Do you want to know about an insane Minecraft bug that allows you to do so many cool things, prank your friends, and also happens to be a duplication glitch for any type of gravity block? Well, you found the right video. Keep watching. Using one single item, a plant, we are able to do so many crazy, weird things, and that is because of one little mechanic that this has. So whenever you power this with a piece of redstone, like a lever for example, you can then put any type of gravity block on top of there, and if you use an anvil, it's just gonna keep falling. It's gonna be very, very, very loud and very glitchy. So of course you can use this for noise machines if you wanted to, but there's a lot of other cool stuff. Now you can make quicksand. So this is just a floor of sand blocks on top of these drip leaves, and if you fall in here, you actually get pushed around by the sand. I'm not touching anything or pressing any keys. You just get pushed around, and it's also just a really cool floor. It's also kind of crazy when you push these as well because they teleport. It is so weird and so broken, but as you can see, you can actually push these guys and they all get moved along. There's probably like 12 more glitchy weird things that we can do with this, but I haven't found out anything. If you guys find out something with this, let me know in the comments. So like I said in the intro, you can use this to duplicate any gravity block in the game. That includes all of the different concrete powdered colors. You got the dragon egg, anvils, of course, red sand, regular sand, and gravel. Now when it comes to gravel, there's really no need to duplicate it because you can get so much of it so easily just from a piglin bartering farm, and there's a lot of good mechanics that we can use on Bedrock Edition to just get insanely fast barter farms, so check out this video if you haven't already. Probably the only thing that you're really going to want to duplicate using this is maybe red sand or sand for use in TNT. Now of course the watering trader does sell both of these items, but it's in measly quantities, and you're probably going to need to get yourself, you know, a lot of sand if you want to build yourself a good TNT tunnel bore, and of course we don't have TNT duplication on Bedrock Edition, so duplicating sand, building yourself a gas farm is probably about the closest you're gonna get. And the dragon egg is actually a legitimate thing to duplicate because you only get one of these under normal circumstances, and if you want to really decorate with them, well, you're gonna have to duplicate it. And when it comes to concrete, you can make this stuff pretty easily, but again, you need that sand, and again, sand is not a renewable resource. Not only does this work with the large drip leaf, you can also use boats for this as well. You just need the boat to be like hanging off an edge and have no blocks in that space right there, and then you can just go ahead and drop a block on it, and then the boat gets super glitchy as well. And then you know what? You can use that for some fun things. Actually, I don't think that, okay, this is not fun. I lied. I'm sorry. So how do you actually duplicate these items? Well, it's really simple, and there's a really basic way of doing it, but I'll be showing you a much better way of doing it in this video. So normally, once you have an item stacked up on top of these drip leaves, and you can actually, you know, put multiple on here as well, then all you need to do is relog. So log out of the game, log back in, and all of those items will be duplicated. You'll have items on the ground, and then you'll also have items still on top of the drip leaf. And as you can see here, all of our items have duplicated. We have a bunch of random items over here, and we also have a bunch of our stuff that broke down. So there's 2 pieces of gravel, 2 pieces of sand, and 2 dragon eggs. Because this is so buggy, you can't really have your drip leaves right next to each other like this, because if you do, the 2 items are going to be touching each other, and then they can actually get shoved along the row. As you can see, some stuff has got pushed off until it reaches the very end. And if you have 2 different items right next to each other, like a piece of gravel and an anvil, for example, they're actually going to break each other upon relog. So what you want to do is you want to have yourself a checkerboard pattern of your drip leaves. That way you can have one item on each of these, and then they don't really mess each other up, and it's actually a reliable farm. So a simple array like this that doesn't take up much room will duplicate about 60 items every time that you relog, but we don't actually need to relog. It's slow, it's lousy, you gotta actually leave the world, rejoin, it takes forever to load. Instead, what we're gonna do is just use the nether. Because this is such a buggy mechanic, if we have our duplicator in the overworld, and then we go to the nether, and then come back to the overworld, it's not actually going to duplicate. As you can see, none of our items have duplicated because reasons. But if we put our duplicator in the nether and then, you know, leave the nether and go back in, then all of our stuff is actually going to duplicate. As you can see, we're getting a bunch of sand over here, and that's all there is to it, really. So you can build up a bunch of these in the nether, and then every time you leave the nether and come back in, you're going to end up with a lot more duplicated sand or whatever else that you're duplicating. So you can build this any size that you want, and the larger that you build it, of course, the more items of that will be duplicated every time. But basically, you just want to go to the nether, pick a spot that, doesn't have a bunch of angry mobs, and kind of a flat area that's a little bit tall as well. And then we're going to place down a 2 wide area, or you can make this, however large that you want. Anyway, basically all we need is a drip leaf, lever, drip leaf, lever, drip leaf, lever, drip leaf, lever, drip leaf, and then you want to make sure that you're powering all of these. That way you can actually place an item on top of it without it falling down. And then we basically just have checkerboarded of drip leaves. Now, you're still going to need some buttons right here in between these ones. These aren't to power the drip leaf. They're purely there to break any sand or whatever that might fall off, because sometimes these items get pushed to the side, and you don't really want those landing right here and stacking up. Now, if you're building a big field of this, honestly, just put levers on all of them and call it good. I've found that we can go up by about 6 blocks, and that's about the reliable height before it starts breaking down, but feel free to experiment. You can stack up these pillars of sand up to 20 or 40 or 100 blocks tall if you really wanted to. Anyway, I'm going to stack these up by 6 blocks, and then we're going to have ourselves some blocks at the tops of the pillars as well. That way you can come in here and just drop all the sand from these blocks. It'll land right on the drip leaf, and it's actually quite difficult to place a sand on top of these moving blocks because they're not actually a block all the time. They're like an entity, and it just cancels your placement. So place it from the ceiling. So once you have that built up, just go ahead and leave the nether and rejoin, and you'll see a bunch of items get duplicated. And there we go. We have a whole bunch of items on the ground. That's really as simple as that. Now, you could set up a minecart hopper collection system. However, if you're going in and out of that nether portal constantly, your unloader isn't really going to be that fast. So just go ahead and use the nether portal for a few minutes at a time, and then come in here and pick up all of your items. Real quick, make sure that you don't have any solid blocks directly above your pillar, because sometimes all these blocks will glitch into that solid block and the whole pillar will turn black, and that's a little bit of an epilepsy warning, and it's also just very weird. So just use a piece of glass, it'll be fine. You might consider it to be a bit immoral to duplicate, and I'm generally on the same path as well. However, this is not an any item duplication. I'm strictly against those, and I don't show those on the channel. However, a gravity block duplicator like this one is actually really not that powerful. This is a really, really bad duplicator. My previous gravity block duplicator like this one produced 120,000 items an hour, which is just a little bit better. So if you feel like doing this in your world, then that's perfectly up to you. If you're playing on a server or a realm, then talk to your admins. It's probably not allowed. I also did a poll here on YouTube that got 14,000 votes, and surprisingly, 60% of people said that gravity block duplicators in Minecraft are totally fine for all uses. I'll get off my horse now, but thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed today's video, drop a like, consider sharing it around so that other people can enjoy as well. If you're new here, then subscribe. I got a lot more tutorials on the way. I'll see you guys down in the comments and in the next one.